CNBC-TV18.
Good evening and thank you for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Parikshit Luthra and here are the headlines we are tracking at this hour. Dalal Street fails to hold on to intraday recovery. Nifty and Sensex end at the day's low. Financials continue to underperform. ICICI Bank, HDFC fall the most. Mid-caps outperform the blue chips. RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das says India's FY23 GDP growth may breach the 7% mark. Sticks with a 6.5% growth forecast for the current fiscal, although IMF has a lower forecast of 5.9%. Governor Das says that retail inflation will cool in April, cautions that the war against inflation is not over as yet. ITC CMD Sanji Puri says that the Indian economy is currently stable and resilient on account of the government's astute economic management. Says that sectors indexed to external demand and pricing need to stay cautious. Indian Hotels Puneet Chatwal says demand for hotels is holding up well in the current quarter. Go First asks employees to get ready to resume operations, tells them that their April salaries would be credited before operations restart. However, sources tell CNBC-TV18 that many employees, including pilots, have refused to join back before salaries are paid. The airline hopes to restart back-end operations by end of May. Federal Bank gears up for a 4,000 crore fundraise, picks Kotak Mahindra Capital, Axis Capital, Bank of America Securities and JP Morgan as advisors. The proposed capital raise is likely to be a combination of QIP and preferential allotment routes. That's a money control exclusive. 19 opposition parties, including the Congress, DMK and the Trinamool Congress, release a joint letter, say they would boycott the inauguration of the new parliament building. Opposition parties say that Prime Minister Modi's decision to inaugurate the building all by himself, completely sidelining President Murmu, is a direct assault on democracy. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, set to announce his bid for the White House in 2024, will most likely make the formal announcement during a live conversation with Twitter chief Elon Musk. Former President Donald Trump has already announced his presidential run. Adidas says that the Indian cricket team sponsorship is a massive opportunity to promote jersey culture ahead of the World Cup. Says that the jerseys will be affordable and should be available in a matter of weeks. According to sources, the kit sponsorship will cost Adidas somewhere in the range of 250 to 300 crores over the next 5 years. Uber steps up its EV push in India, announces a strategy to achieve full electrification much before 2040, launches Uber Green, which will help customers book EV cabs across Mumbai, Delhi, Bengaluru from June. The ride-hailing app says it is part of the top 3 markets for the company in terms of value. Straight to the day's market highlights first. Yes, let's get you highlights from Dalal Street, which failed to hold intraday recovery to end at the day's low. Nifty and Sensex closed 0.25% in the red. Financials continued to underperform, with HDFC Bank and ICICI being the top losers. Nifty Bank fell over 0.5%. Mid-caps relatively outperformed the blue chips. RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das said that India's GDP growth may come slightly above the 7% forecast. Speaking at an event organized by industry body CII, Das said that economic indicators of the fourth quarter say that economic activity sustained momentum. Governor Das also said that the central bank will stick with the 6.5% growth target for the next fiscal. The IMF forecast was lower at 5.9%. Governor Das also added that even though he expects retail inflation to cool in April, the war on inflation is not over yet.
For the current year, for the year that has just ended, that is 22-23, the estimates are that it will be 7%. But there is a possibility that it could be even more. The data will come at the end of this month. According to all the recent trends, it will not be a surprise if the GDP growth of last year comes slightly above 7%. But let's stick to 7% for the time being. For 23-24, we have given a figure of 6.5%. And we have said that, with a lot of, we have done our internal analysis. Of course, the IMF and other international institutions have given lower projections. For instance, the IMF projects it at 5.9%.
Sanji Puri, the CMD of ITC and the Vice President of CII, feels that the Indian economy is stable and resilient due to the government's astute management. Speaking to Abhimanyu Sharma on the sidelines of the CII annual summit, he said that the only sectors to watch out for were those that were indexed to external demand and pricing.
So let me first of all say I think the government has been doing a very astute management of the economy. That's why there is stability and resilience in the economy. That's why India is the best performing economy. We have seen purposeful and timely actions being taken, whether it's on the fiscal side or monetary side. And I think as far as inflation is concerned, let's remember it's largely because of the external sector. I think within India, it is very well managed. It is within the band that has been prescribed now. It is getting there.
What kind of uptake are you expecting in several sub-segments? Are you also expecting a slowdown in any sub-segment?
Well, I think the Indian economy is doing well. Indian economy continues to do well. High frequency indicators also reinforce that. So that also is reflective of the kind of demand we are getting. The only sector to watch out is for areas that are indexed to external demand, areas that are indexed to global pricing, global demand.
And Puneet Chhatwal, the MD and CEO of the Indian Hotels Company, has reacted on the government's move to levy higher tax collected at source on international credit cards. Speaking to CNBC-TV18 on the sidelines of the CII annual summit, Chhatwal said that minimal taxes should be imposed on the tourism sector as it is already highly taxed. Chhatwal also said the demand for hotels will continue to outpace supply, added that hotel prices should be up by 20 to 25%.
The current quarter, the demand is holding very well. We are still ahead of what we saw in April and first 15 days of May compared to last year. And most of the markets are demonstrating a double-digit growth. And I don't see much change in that trend.
The prices, there's a chatter about the prices being too high across hotels. What is your view on that?
I think it's still too low. Which should increase by 20 to 25%.
TCS issue that has recently come up has unnerved the tourism industry particularly. What do you have to say about that?
I don't have much comments on that. I think some of these kind of policy changes they help some and they are not good for some. All I can say is that taxes in general should be minimal in this sector. This is a highly taxed sector. It does not benefit from the infrastructure status at the center level. Not many states have given the industry status at the state level. My request goes both to the center and state level to give it a full infrastructure status, which it truly and rightly deserves as the highest multiplicator of jobs in our sector, and industry status with a full level industry status in the various states and the union territories of India.
All right, that was Puneet Chhatwal urging governments to keep the taxes minimal for the tourism sector. Moving on to the aviation sector now. Go First head of operations has asked employees to get ready for the relaunch, even as the airline is still putting together its takeoff plan. The airline will be able to resume operations only after DGCA's approval. The aviation regulator will be conducting an audit to check the airline's preparedness. Madhya Mujawar joins us with the details. Madhya, tell us what's the latest.
Well, Go First's revival largely depends on how soon the airline is able to put together its relaunch plan as well as secure funding to sustain its operations. The airline will need capital to pay its vendors, oil companies and airport operators on a cash and carry basis. So far, we don't have any definite update on whether the airline has received any fresh capital. Then the revival, as you mentioned, is also subject to DGCA approval. The aviation regulator will be conducting an audit of the grounded carrier to check its preparedness before allowing it to fly again. The airline's head of operations, Rajit Ranjan, has asked employees to keep themselves available for flying all the time. He has also asked them to join for a refresher program to ensure that they are fully ready for takeoff. And sources tell CNBC-TV18 that many employees, including pilots, are reluctant to join work before they are paid the April salaries. According to the email, employees will be paid their salaries before resumption of operations. The email also mentions that going forward, salaries will be paid in the first week of every month. So as of now, it looks like things are moving in the right direction.
All right. Thanks, Madhya, for joining us. Moving on, shifting focus to a money control exclusive. Federal Bank is gearing up for what promises to be one of the biggest fundraisers by a corporate in 2023. Ashwin Mohan joins us now with more details. Ashwin, what are the contours of this deal and who are the investment bankers on board?
Right, so this is a big bang fundraise in the works as far as IFC-backed Kerala headquartered private sector lender Federal Bank is concerned. If it fructifies, it will be indeed one of the biggest fundraisers by a corporate in 2023. Remember, Aditya Birla Capital is also working on a fundraise. Now, this fundraise by Federal Bank is up to 4,000 crore rupees. What we are given to understand from our sources is that the lender has initiated preliminary steps to launch this deal. They have taken on board 4 investment banks as advisors. So they're taken on board Kotak Mahindra Capital, Axis Capital, Bofa Securities, and JP Morgan. So the advisors are on board. The preliminary discussions have begun. Now, what are the contours of this proposed deal? So up to 4,000 crore rupees, that's the maximum amount that we're looking at over here. It's likely to be split into 2 components. One is likely to be a QIP component, and the second one is likely to be a preferential allotment component. The QIP component is likely to be around 3,000 crore rupees, and the remaining portion would be something that would be coming in from the pref allotment. That, of course, is the plan as of now, though, mind you, the quantum or the timelines for the launch of this deal haven't been frozen as yet. If you look at Federal Bank, clearly they are looking to aggressively push in the retail space. They want to open more branches. They're also looking to acquire assets in the financial services space. So growth capital and inorganic activity, those are the 2 triggers as far as this proposed fundraise is concerned. We've reached out to both Federal Bank as well as the other investment banks. We are awaiting to hear from them. But keep one thing in mind. What will be interesting is that if the preferential allotment component is indeed relied upon, we'll have to wait and watch to see whether IFC, which picked up a 4.9% stake in Federal Bank earlier, whether they will participate, if at all, in that pref allotment piece. Back to you.
All right. Thanks, Ashwin, for joining us. Meanwhile, the Adani Group is exploring a $3 billion investment in Vietnam. According to a statement by the Vietnamese government, the Adani Group is looking to develop a seaport ecosystem as well as wind and solar energy projects in the country. This development comes after the Vietnamese PM met with Karan Adani, CEO of Adani Ports, earlier today. Ride-hailing app Uber has announced that it will expand its electric footprint in India. The company's latest offering, Uber Green, will help customers book EV cabs across 3 cities, including Delhi, Mumbai and Bengaluru. I caught up with Andrew McDonald, Senior Vice President of the Mobility and Business Operations at Uber, and began by asking him about their latest launch.
So today we announced two really big things. One was the launch of Uber Green, which is a product for consumers to be able to request a ride, just as they do an Uber Go ride today, in a 100% emission-free electric vehicle. So that's a big deal, and I think it's really responding to consumer demand for EVs, for green transportation options. The second big thing was, we like to say sustainability is a team sport. And so we talked today about all of the partners we're bringing to the table, from the OEMs in Tata to our fleet partners in terms of Everest and Lithium and Move.io, to the charging networks in terms of BP Pulse, to financing partners. You know, we are bringing together a bunch of different industry players to make sustainability work, to make electrification work in India, and we're really excited about it.
How much are you likely to be investing in India towards electrification and setting up an ecosystem for Uber?
So we haven't talked about, you know, specific dollars by country, India is a top 3 market for Uber globally by volume, so you can imagine a lot of that investment we're making is going to end up here.
And India Inc. is betting big on the consumption industry. Speaking at the PwC India CEO panel, the corporate stalwart said that the pandemic served as a growth driver for their respective industries, and they see the consumption sector fueling the Indian economy's growth at a rapid pace.
Reinvention, firstly, we're trying to flip ourselves into becoming a far more consumer-centric company. You will not survive the next decade if you're not just consumer-centric, but very agile. So one is just trying to change the pace of how quickly do you capture consumer insights and then translate that to products on the shelf.
Tier 2, 3 India, I actually think, we seeing it in our business, continues to surge ahead. I think the deeper depressions are in the metros and a little bit more in the tier 1 cities.
Strongly believe that this is a booming business. We see that in growth. While they may have come off a little bit from where they were, they are still very high double-digit growth in all the categories that we play in.
Right, we're going to take a short break here on CNBC-TV18, but coming up, 19 opposition parties, including the Congress, DMK and the Trinamool, released a joint letter saying they would boycott the inauguration of the new Parliament building. Details when we are back. Welcome back. You're watching India Business Hour. 19 opposition parties have decided to boycott the inauguration of the new Parliament building by Prime Minister Modi on Sunday. In a joint statement, the parties explained their reasons behind the boycott. They said that the Prime Minister's decision to inaugurate the new Parliament building by completely sidelining President Murmu is an assault on democracy. The BJP has urged the opposition to stop politicizing the issue. Kiran Khatri has this story. A state-of-the-art Constitution Hall, a lounge for members of Parliament, a library, ultra-modern office spaces and larger chambers for legislature. This is what the new Parliament building will house. In December 2020, Prime Minister Narendra Modi laid the foundation stone for the building as part of his vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Bracing construction delays due to the pandemic, the building is all set to be inaugurated this week. Constructed at a cost of an estimated 970 crores by Tata Projects. The Parliament will showcase a rich blend of Indian culture and diversity of our regional arts, crafts, textiles and architecture.
The new building is a 4-story structure spread across an area of over 64,000 square meters and has a capacity to seat over 1,200 members of Parliament. The size of the Lok Sabha as well as the constituencies are going to increase by 2026 as the freeze on delimitation is going to end in 2026.
However, 19 opposition parties have decided to stay away from the function. They say that the Prime Minister's decision to launch the building all by himself, sidelining President Draupadi Murmu, is a direct assault on democracy. In a joint letter, the parties said, and I quote, "We will continue to fight, in letter, in spirit and in substance, against the authoritarian Prime Minister and his government and take our message directly to the people of India." End of quote. The parties include Congress, Aam Aadmi Party, Trinamool Congress, DMK, NCP, Shiv Sena, RJD, Janata Dal United and the Samajwadi Party.
You are violating the customs. That is why we, Congress Party, discuss with all other like-minded political parties. I am very happy to say that, including TMC, Aam Aadmi Party, all are, including BRS also. They are all in agreement with these sentiments.
We are committed to the Constitution of India and we are committed to safeguarding it. That is the signal. Well, the government and the Prime Minister is committed to destroying the Constitution of India.
हम लोगों का मानना है कि राष्ट्रपति जी जो हैं उनसे जो है उद्घाटन कराना चाहिए था, क्योंकि पार्लियामेंट के जो हेड होते हैं एक तरह से वो राष्ट्रपति ही होते हैं.
The prominent non-signatories who do not have an alliance with the BJP include Bahujan Samaj Party, the Biju Janata Dal, Janata Dal Secular, YSR Congress and the Telugu Desam Party. These parties are yet to announce their stance on the inauguration formally. However, we cannot assume they will not attend. Top BJP ministers also offered a rebuttal to the opposition's charge.
राजनीति को इसके साथ मत जोड़िए. एक बड़ी भावात्मक प्रक्रिया हमारी पुरानी परंपराओं से नए भारत को जोड़ने की. इसको इतने ही सीमित अर्थ में देखना चाहिए।
अगस्त 1975 की, जब इंदिरा जी प्रधानमंत्री थी, उन्होंने पार्लियामेंट एनेक्स की इनॉग्रेशन की। 15 अगस्त 87 में राजीव जी जब प्रधानमंत्री थे, उन्होंने पार्लियामेंट लाइब्रेरी की। अगर आपके हेड ऑफ गवर्नमेंट इनॉग्रेट कर सकते हैं पार्लियामेंट की एनेक्सी को और लाइब्रेरी को, तो हम इस समय के हेड ऑफ गवर्नमेंट क्यों नहीं कर सकते?
Home Minister Amit Shah announced that Prime Minister Modi will honour 60,000 workers who built the new Parliament building in record time. A golden sceptre called Sengol will be installed in the new Parliament. The Sengol was given to India's first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru as a symbol of the transfer of power from the British. However, while the temple of democracy moves to a new address, the old fissures between the BJP and the opposition refuse to heal. Abhimanyu Sharma and Kiran Khatri report for CNBC-TV18. Right, politics heating up ahead of the general elections next year. So we will be keeping a track of all big stories around politics for you. Netflix has widened its crackdown on password sharing beyond US to 100 more countries. The OTT giant alerted customers that accounts were only to be shared within a single household only. The crackdown, however, has not begun in India as yet. Netflix said that more than 100 million users are sharing their account in turn, impacting the streamlining platform's ability to invest in good cinema. Meta has started the last batch of its planned layoffs to cut 10,000 jobs across all its platforms. The tech giant had announced a second round of layoffs in March this year after firing 11,000 employees in November last year. Adidas has been named the new kit sponsor for the Indian men's, women and youth cricket teams. BCCI has not given out details on the deal value, but sources tell us that the sponsorship will cost Adidas somewhere in the range of 250 to 300 crores over the next 5 years. Adidas India's managing director told my colleague Shibani Garath that the BCCI deal was the right investment to make.
Difficult question, of course, can't reveal that. It is, of course, the investment is big, as you know, as everybody else knows. All I would say is that Bjorn is absolutely right, and this investment is absolutely the right investment to make.
That ODI World Cup is happening this year. How is Adidas planning to leverage this opportunity? Do we see like some big budget campaigns also coming up in the coming months?
Well, you can expect that as we roll towards the World Cup. The biggest, let's say, focus for the last few weeks was to get the announcement right, make sure that we're able to get our athletes for the WTC finals. That's a big moment coming up just in a matter of few weeks. But as we roll towards the World Cup, expect some campaigns. The noise levels or the activity levels will start peaking towards October and November. Yeah, so, and as I said, cricket gives us the opportunity to tell our brand stories through cricket, and that would also happen.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.